Hello everybody, welcome to Savage Ink Studios. I'm your host Ink, and today's Sketchbook Storytime is part 2 of That Time I Got Creeped On. So in my first video I kind of just ranted and rambled a little bit. I don't have a script to go off of, and I realized after I had finished it that I had forgotten 3 specific incidences that definitely should have been in there. So this is part 2 of That Time I Got Creeped On, and these ones are more like actual stories instead of, flybys. So the first one, I was working at a coffee shop pretty far from my home. I had to take 2 buses to get back home. This particular coffee shop, the uniform was, a really loose t-shirt, and I wear men's work pants. So when in that uniform, you actually can't see any of what my body looks like at all. So that's important for later in the story. So I was on my second bus home, and once I got off the bus stop, I still had to walk 3 blocks to get to my apartment. So I'd gotten off the bus after a day of work, and I was walking in the direction of my house when someone else who had gotten off the bus started following me really close, and he's like, "Hey." And I'm just hoping that he's gonna ask to bum a cigarette or something and then leave me alone, but of course not. If that were the case, we would not have a story to tell. So he's like, "Hey, how you doing? I was just wondering if you're looking for a job." And I kind of, pointed to my uniform, and I'm like, "Nope, I have a job. Thank you. Have a nice day." And this guy is like, "Well, I'm sure you don't make that much money doing that." And I'm like, "I get by. Leave me alone, And this guy starts telling me, "Oh, well, I'm in the porn industry, and, you should come with me, because I can get you a job. You'd be great for it." And I'm literally just so flabbergasted that I don't think that I even said anything. I think I just kept on walking faster, because like I said, in this uniform, you couldn't even see the shape of my body. And if you're familiar with any of my other videos, I'm not conventionally attractive. I'm overweight, I am kind of hyper-masculine, I do not look like what you would think a porn star would look like in any way, shape, or form. I am a short, squat potato with linebacker shoulders, and no. No. So, I'm trying to shake this guy off, and he followed me almost all the way home, trying to convince me to go with him so that he could get me a job in the porn industry. And I was so freaked out that after I got to my apartment complex, I'm like, "You need to go away now." And I actually walked around the entire complex 3 different times until I was sure the guy was gone before I went into my apartment. That's how bad this guy had me freaked out. The second incident, I was also on my way home from work. It was really late, and I lived close enough to my job at this point where I could just walk home. And it was very, very late. This was a long midnight shift type of deal where I didn't get out of work until past midnight. And I was walking home, and I had to walk past a couple of bars to get to where I lived. It's just one of those areas. And as I was walking home, these 2 obviously intoxicated guys who were walking across the street from me crossed over to my side and started getting closer. And in that neighborhood, I was always hyper aware of what was going on around me, because it's just not a really safe place to live or walk around at night. And one of these guys, I couldn't even understand what he said, but I think he was talking to me, and he stuck his hand on my shoulder. And I reacted before I had time to think, and I turned around and made a very loud animal-type noise at him. My attempt at a lion roar, which I am not going to do for you right now. Sorry, guys. And it is not accurate, but I guess it's still pretty damn scary, because most people don't just make animal noises at each other most of the time. And these two dudes jumped a mile and turned around and ran in the opposite direction. And, like, to be honest, I'm kind of surprised that that worked, but that's officially, like, my go-to. If it's in the middle of the night and someone, like, tries to stick their hands on me, my very first response is to just make a really loud roar noise because it freaks people out, and then they usually go away. And it does work. So, you know, ladies, gents, whoever listening out there, if someone, you know, tries to creep on you in the middle of the night, try making animal noises at them. It might work. And my third story is not how I reacted to someone being creepy, and not even necessarily like being creepy, just feeling creepy, I guess. This is actually a story of my snake Dracarys reacting to someone feeling creepy. So here's a little backstory on my snake. She's a 9.5-foot albino red-tailed boa. She's gorgeous. She's done therapy with kids. She's an incredible animal. I mean, she's really, really smart and really, really sweet. And outside of this one time, she has never hissed at anybody. She has never snapped at anybody. She has never bit anybody. She is a genuinely well-mannered animal. And during the summertime, you know, I'll put her around my shoulders and I take her for walks outside, you know, get some of that sunlight, fresh air. And, you know, we have a couple of parks nearby that are, you know, where I live now, that are clean and safe and don't use pesticides on their grass and whatever, where I can just let her roam around on the grass and, you know, stretch out and whatever. So, without my cats harassing her. So, I was walking down the street with my snake. And I get a lot of people who either scream and run away, but there's a surprising amount of people who also, you know, want to run up and ask questions and can you touch her and whatever, and I'm used to that. I understand that it's just part of taking an exotic animal out on a walk. So I was walking down the street, and this guy, not particularly assuming in any way, you know, little dude, slightly taller than me, skinny. I mean, he didn't look like someone that you would think you should automatically be afraid of. And he walked up and he started talking to me, but from the moment that he stopped in front of me, just the hair went up on the back of my neck and the goose pimples started on my arms, and I'm like, something's not right with this guy. I don't know why, but I feel really uneasy and I don't trust this dude. And he's trying to talk to me, and I'm trying to be polite because he hasn't done anything, you know. And like I said, when you walk down the street with a giant snake, you know people are going to approach you. So he was asking questions about her, and I was, you know, talking to him about her. And then he reached out to grab my arm, and she whipped her head forward, opened her mouth as wide as she would if she was about to swallow a giant rat. And her teeth, I mean, just... her teeth normally lay backwards, like flat a little bit, so like unless she yawned, you really can't see how long and sharp they are. And her freaking fangy teeth just flew out, and she's, you know, gushed like just slobber, and just you could hear her hiss, probably from across the street. Like I said, she's an incredibly well-mannered animal. She doesn't act like that. This guy reached for my arm, and she whipped her head up, opened her mouth as wide as it would go, and hissed at this guy. And I swear to God, he almost pissed his pants, and he booked it. And, like, I felt really relieved, because when he reached out for me, like, my heart started panicking. I'm like, oh, no, don't make me do this. Don't make me need to fight somebody when I've got her. And, you know, because my first priority when I am out with her is her safety, and I really don't want to have to get into a fight with somebody and worry about making sure that she doesn't get hurt while I'm trying to, you know, take care of a situation. So, that was, and I mean, I was surprised, you know, because I didn't realize, I mean, obviously, she could either tell that this guy was a creep, or she could tell that I was freaked out, and to this day, it's been years and years, and to this day, that is the only time that she has ever hissed at someone or been aggressive towards someone in any way. And, that was That was a cool thing, cool moment. Now I know, if I'm ever out with her and some creep comes up, that she's got it within her capabilities to try and scare him off, so that's something. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed my sketches. I'm sorry that it wasn't a full piece today. I know it's basically just me going through and trying to refine some of my sketchbook pieces so I can get a sketchbook tour together for you guys at some point. I did some more of the one marker challenge practice. I've been working on that. I don't want to do an entire one Copic challenge piece for an entire video until I know what I'm doing, and I'm still trying to get used to making an entire picture with one marker and trying to figure out which tones are best to use where I can get the most variation. So I hope you enjoyed my sketches. I hope you enjoyed my stories, and I will see you guys in the next one.